Hey everyone, welcome back to the Honey Wool Wonders knitting channel. My name's Honey and I'm coming to you from Melbourne, Australia. We've got a wonderful summer day today and I'm back with a project update episode. I've got a few finished objects that I'm super excited to share. I've also have a new cast on that you haven't seen it before in any of my podcasts. So it's a new cast on. I've got a few other whips going on. I do have a new project plan, which I've bought the yarn for. So I've got a few things to share today. All right, let's jump into it. So I'm going to start with my very first finished object, and that is my very beautiful Moby sweater by Petiteknit. So this is the Moby Sweater Man. That's why it's like super huge. I don't even think I can fit it in one frame, but I'm going to pop up photos of it because I managed to get some nice pictures the other day. So this finally finished. This took ages, to be honest, because I did have to put it on hold for a while, but I managed to finish it. So the last time that I've shared this, I was about like halfway through one of the sleeves. So there wasn't like much left. I only had to finish off the sleeves and that went pretty quickly. So yeah, this is a lovely design. I've talked heaps about this in my previous video, like podcast video. So if you want to know more about this pattern, like more details, I'll just link that video in the description. So I won't be repeating myself, but a general like high level of this design. It's a top down sweater, drop shoulder. You shape the back with short rows and the shoulder slopes with short rows. And yeah, just pretty like standard construction. The pattern was amazingly well written. I had no issues. And there's something about this Moby texture that I absolutely love. The yarn that I used for this one was the Cascade 220 in the color Turtle. So it's this beautiful like heathered green color. And oh my God, I don't think I could choose a better yarn for this pattern. Like, how this yarn is like, you know, like that texture is like popping out so beautifully with this yarn. I love that stitch definition, that crisp. I don't know, there's something about this yarn and this pattern that just working amazingly. You know how you're feeling so proud when you choose the right pattern, right yarn for a design? This is one of those combos that I absolutely adore. So this was a sweater that I knit for my partner. He's tried it on. It fits him pretty well. It's a large size. So this pattern comes in 9 sizes. I knitted this in the size large. And it's aiming for a 10 to 15 centimeters positive ease. So I did doubt a little bit about the size while I was knitting it because it's a full textured pattern. And you know how it cinches in when you're not, like it hasn't been blocked, but it blocked out so well, like no issues with the size. There's only one, I don't even want to say it's an issue, but the sleeves blocked out a bit more than I was expecting. So it's slightly longer than like what he really liked, but it's still fine. Like next time when I wash it, I'll probably just make sure that the sleeves get blocked a bit like shorter in terms of length, but it's amazing. And also I tried a new sort of technique for the ribbing. You know how 1x1 ribs can usually like look a bit wonky, especially with the purl stitches. So there's a way that you can actually fix that. It's like purling like anti-clockwise. I don't know, it's like the opposite of what you usually do in terms of like wrapping the yarn around the needle, and then you end up with like twisted stitches. So you gotta twist, you gotta purl from the back when it comes to the next round. It's pretty straightforward, but it worked perfect. I couldn't believe that that could make a huge difference. So for the cuffs is like where I tried that, and look how neat that ribbing is. Amazing. Italian bind off for both like hem and cuffs. Beautiful drape. I mean, what can I say about this? This is just talking itself. Amazing, amazing pattern. I think I want another Moby sweater for myself. I'll probably just use this same pattern that I have, just knitted in a smaller size. But yeah, finally finished. This took me so long. I know I did put it on hold for a while, but it still took me quite a while because it was like a large sweater, a lot of things happening. It's such an engaging pattern. All right, let's go to the next finished object, which is another beautiful sweater. This is the Tulip Loop sweater by Other Loops. It's called the Tulip Loop Rollneck actually, because she's got like a few different patterns with the same sort of texture. So this is the Rollneck, which has this beautiful double folded turtleneck and this beautiful cable texture. Oh my God, this is so beautiful. I cannot explain how much I love this finished piece. It has everything I would love in a sweater. This is the most like, this is the coziest and most like, it's such a beautiful pattern. I mean, with the moment I saw this design, I was like, I want that. You know, like I did have no doubts about like knitting this. And I found the perfect yarn for this. So again, this was another combo that turned out pretty amazing with the pattern. So I again used Cascade 220 in this beautiful sort of like brick red. The color is called Japanese Maple, and I held it with Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Pomegranate. I don't have any, I think I've got a little left, but I don't have it here. But yeah, it created this beautiful like fabric. It's not the exact match, especially because the silk mohair from Knitting for Olive did have sort of like a wide off silk strand, which created this mold effect. I don't mind it, but I wouldn't, like, I would prefer to have like a more like closer match. It's okay. I'm still super happy with the color. It looks so beautiful and it's so soft. I've actually worn it and just kept it on for like a while. I had no issues, especially since this is like a very high turtleneck. It does matter to like have not be too itchy so you can bear it, and this was amazing. I'm gonna wear it and post some b-rolls because it looks so beautiful. I've talked heaps about this pattern in my previous episode. Again, the link will be in the description, so I'm not gonna go through all the details, but just high level, it's a top-down sweater. It starts with casting on the back panel, and then you pick up stitches for the front, join in the round, pick up sleeves, and then you add the neck. There's like so many short rows happening in this pattern. I feel like that's why it creates this beautiful fit of a sweater. So it has short rows for the shoulder slopes, for the back, for the sleeves, and it's amazing. It's such a beautiful, and it looks so complicated, but honestly, it's just like so intuitive. You like, you pick it up. Once you get over that increases for the slopes, like for the shoulder slopes, and you join in the round, then you just don't even have to look at the pattern because the repeats they happen at the same time. The big cables and the slight smaller cables, and then the rest is just like a 3x2 ribbing. And this one, after blocking, it was one of those sweaters that like after you block it, it's totally like a different sweater. And I knew this because it's ribbed and it's like cable textured. It just became so beautiful. I did modify the sleeve length slightly. I did go like, I think I've ended up with one less repeats for the cables because it was becoming a bit too long. I think my gauge for the row gauge of mine was super off. So that's why I had to stop before the pattern calls for. Again, the sleeves are this beautiful 1x1 rib. I used the same technique and I ended up with a beautiful and neat ribbing, both for the hem. So Italian cast off, again, amazing. This pattern again comes in, I always forget to give these details. Pattern comes in 6 sizes. She is asking for a worsted weight yarn. So she's asking for a Knitting for Olive heavy merino held with a silk mohair. So I was using the same yarn weight, but just a different yarn. And I think I actually like this one a bit more than the Knitting for Olive heavy merino. I haven't used that one, but I did touch it in the store. I feel like this was a bit softer and way more affordable. Like you get twice the length in one skein for this one compared to the Knitting for Olive one. But amazing, amazing sweater. I think I'm gonna be wearing this like so much in winter because it just has everything that I would love in a sweater. High neck, oversized. This is like aiming for a 35 to 45 centimeters positive ease. Like, oh my God. And I think I'm close to 30 centimeters. I knitted this in the size extra small. So it's the smallest size, but I feel like I still have like a generous amount of positive ease, which is, again, I love. I usually like crop sweaters mostly, but for this one, I ended up like as I was like supposed to in the pattern, because I did want to get that dramatic feel in the sweater, which is what the designer I think is aiming for. It's such a like a loose fit, slouchy. I mean, I could not love this more. And oh, I forgot about the back. So the back panel is actually a different sort of texture. You see how it's like this pointy V-shape design. And I think that's the highlight of this design. Is like beautiful. I love how she's thought about like having a different sort of like pattern for the back. Amazing, amazing pattern. No issues with the pattern, super well written. First time knitting other loops design, I had no issues. It is actually all written instructions, so it's not charted. I didn't have any issues with that, but other than that, the pattern had super clear, super well written. Highly recommend this sweater. Okay, I forgot about needle size. I use the same suggested needle sizes for both my Moby sweater and the Tulip loop sweater. The Moby sweater I knitted in 4mm needles, and the Tulip loop sweater I knitted in 4.5mm, which are the suggested needles in the pattern. So I was able to meet gauge using the same needle size. All right, so those were my two finished objects, which were like pretty impressive. I'm super happy with them because they were like taking so much time, because they were like super big, you know, like very huge objects. So I'm happy that they're finished, and that actually freed up a lot of my time to start on my other projects. I'm actually going to share quickly another, it's sort of like a semi-finished object. This is my Ovis Socks by the Saskie&Co. They actually changed their name now. So it's this beautiful sheepy sock. This is slightly different than the pattern. This pattern is actually all over color work. I chose to like only have the color work section in the cuff because I just want those sheeps to just pop out more, you know, like to have them as the main color work or main feature of my socks. And then I just ended up with sort of like the same contrast color for the toes. But yes, this is such a beautiful, beautiful pattern. I had this on my wish list for so long. I ended up knitting it. I did have a bit of trouble with the color work section of the cuff because I was using magic loop, and it was a bit tricky with catching my floats. Again, a lot of like details about this pattern in my previous episode, but I managed to finish one pair. So previously I only had like the color work section finish of one pair. I finished this one. I did modify the heel flap as well. I think the pattern calls for an afterthought heel. I changed it to just like heel flap gusset. I was just more comfortable with that design, and it fits okay. I knitted mine in the size medium, and I used the Regia sock base, the Regia Yak, in this beautiful sort of like headed red color, and the gray. This is the other pair. So this is a semi-whip project. I still have to finish off the foot section of this one. I finished the heel, so there's not much left. I just have to start like finishing up the toe and the foot in the round. I feel like I managed to get a better tension in the second pair. This one hasn't been blocked. I blocked this pair to actually like show it in this episode. It was very wonky, but this one is a better tension, but I'm sort of afraid that I might end up with like size issue, like fit issue. I don't know if I did try it on. It does go over my heel, but not as easy as this one. So I'm hoping that like blocking will help, but I'm more happy with the tension. I would probably go like a quarter needle size up next time when I decide to do a color work sock. So this one is knitted in 2.25 millimeter needle or US 0, but for those sheeps I actually use 2.5, but I think it would be better if I use like 2.75 just to like avoid that tightness, which I'm a bit worried about. But yeah, overall I love this sock. I'm so happy that I own this. I always love to, like, once I saw these sheeps and this design, it was like, oh my god, that is such a genius pattern. It's not too hard, honestly. The sheeps were a bit tricky because it's like 3-stranded color work. There are points that you're holding three strands of like yarn. It was a bit not easy for me, at least, because I'm very new to color work, but I managed to get it done. Like, if I can do this, honestly, I think if you've done color work before, this wouldn't be too hard. But amazing pattern, no issues with the instructions, very well written. And yeah, I feel like I sort of like lost motivation after I saw those sheeps shaped and then I just ended up there. But I'll probably just finish this one like very soon. So next time you'll see it, it's going to be a whip that I'll just be showing it as in like final reveal. All right, I've got another whip going on, which is the one that I said it's the first time that I'm talking about this, because this was like, I don't know if you've seen my 2025 knitting like sort of project planning video. That was my previous video, but in that one I did have this beautiful jacket by AegyoKnit. So this is the Ppoppo Jacket by AegyoKnit. It's this beautiful, very lightweight cardigan. So yeah, this ended up on my needles very soon after that video, and oh my god, I don't know how well the colors like captured in the video. I tried to get some B-rolls because the color is so amazing. It's this beautiful sort of like burgundy color. So a bit about the pattern again before I forget. I'm knitting this in the first size 1. It comes in 4 sizes, so it's not super size inclusive, but honestly there's like so much positive ease going on, which I feel like it'll maybe go up to like size 6 maybe. I'm not like an expert in size, so don't quote me for that, but this is the first size and it's already super oversized, you know. So it's aiming for a 16 stitch gauge after blocking. I am using a different sort of yarn weight for this one. So this pattern is actually calling for a light fingering held with 2 lace strands. I'm using the Isager Merilin, which is a light fingering yarn, holding it with the Isager silk mohair. So I'm actually like I'm just leaving out 1 lace strand. So that affected my gauge, of course. So I had to change my needle size. The pattern calls for a 6 millimeter needle. So that's like a super airy and like, you know, like airy gauge. So I changed my needle to 4.5 millimeter. So that actually got me the gauge, which was like 16 stitch after blocking. So mine might be a bit more like airy and more like lightweight than the actual pattern, but I actually wanted that. I did want something super like lightweight to just use as a very like easy throw on cardigan for like not too cold weathers during like autumn or even summer. And it's such a soft fabric. So this Isager Merilin has like a 80% wool and 20% linen composition. So it's such a like nice summery yarn, I would say. It's not too woolly. This is the color 31S. It's sort of this beautiful burgundy color, and I'm using the Isager silk mohair in the color 36. So it's a beautiful like combo, and that's the fabric. Again, such a beautiful, amazing color. So yeah, it's my first time using a linen sort of like based yarn. It's not the most fun experience because it's sort of like, it doesn't have any bounciness. It's very like, you know how linen is if you've used it before. So it's a bit hard on my hands. So I can't really knit for so long because my fingers don't really enjoy it that much. But the fabric is super soft. Honestly, I feel like this has zero itchiness factor to it. So I'm really happy again with the color, with the yarn choice here. I was inspired immediately after I was watching Danish Musings YouTube video. She's one of my favorite YouTubers. But yeah, she was wearing this in a light gray color using the Isager trio with the mohair. So that sort of like inspired me to use sort of like a summery version of this pattern. So I chose the Isager Merilin, which I'm honestly so happy with. They had amazing colors in this yarn. So the moment I saw this, I was like, I'm gonna use this color. So yeah, how this pattern is constructed, it's like a very simple drop shoulder cardigan. You start with casting on the neck edges and then you create the shoulder slope by increases, and then it's not actually increases, you keep casting on extra stitches to end up with this sort of like slope, which was a new way of constructing the shoulder slope for me. And then you pick up stitches for the two fronts, you knit up until the armholes, and then you join in the round. So now I'm actually in the round, and then you start adding increases to create the V-neck sort of like shape in the front. And I feel like I don't have much left on the body. So it's a very cropped cardigan. I might go a bit longer than the pattern calls for. I don't know, I have to try it on and see how I feel. And I know this will grow a ton after I block it because it's in the double must-stitch texture. And I do know that that one grows heaps when you block it. And then the finishing is going to be like with I-cords throughout the whole front and also the cuff and the hem. So yeah, I've got a few more rounds to go to finish off the body, and also under the sleeves, it has this beautiful construction. I don't know if you can see it. So there's like this two continuous knitted lines. It's a beautiful detail, I feel, and it's such an easy pattern, very mindless. I just keep knitting on this. But yeah, as I said, the yarn isn't too easy to knit with. This is how it looks in like a cake. There's sort of those black strands in it. I don't know what those are, to be honest. Are those the linen fabric? I feel like this might end up as like a finished object pretty soon because yeah, it's going on so fast. It's such an open and airy gauge. So all right, we've got another whip. That is my cute little Vilma top by Gregoria Fibers. If you've been here before, you've obviously heard a lot about me, how much I love this design. It's an absolute favorite of mine. I've knitted this once with a woolly sort of like composition. I've used the Isager Jensen held with the Isager Alpaca 1. So it's a very woolly and warm top. And the moment I knitted that, I knew I do want to have a summery version of the same design. So that's what I did. I did end up knitting this one. So I'm using the Robinson yarn for this one. It's called from the Rerum Natura in the color AZUR. So this is a 70% merino with 30% recycled cotton. So it's sort of like a very new to me yarn sort of like feel. It's super soft. I can't even comment on the softness. It's just amazingly soft, super lightweight, and also super squishy. The strands are like, you see how those white, I think those are the cotton, and it's very bouncy. It's a very fun, like whenever I feel like my fingers need a break from the linen yarn, from my Ppoppo Jacket, I'll just end up on this one. This one's just like so good and like feeling wise when you knit with it. So I'm actually gone pretty far. So last time when I shared this, I only had like a few rows with the, so this is a bottom up construction. You start with provisional cast on and then you knit from bottom up. So I had very little, to be honest, like only had like few rows. I just wanted to try out the yarn, but now I've actually progressed pretty well. So there's not much left. This is also a very quick knit because it's not too big. It's just like a top. It goes on pretty fast. So the pattern actually calls for an Aran weight yarn. This yarn is a I think it's a worsted weight yarn, but I managed to meet gauge. So I did make a gauge swatch, and then the previous top that I made it in the second size, but this is in the size, the first size, because I only had 2 skeins of this and I didn't really want to get a third one just to go over like a little bit. So I decided to go 1 size down because my previous one had a good amount of positive E, so I was okay with it to be a bit more tighter fit. And since it's a summery top and the yarn isn't like too heavy or woolly, I thought it would be nice. And oh my god, isn't this the most beautiful color? Let me show the back. I don't know if it actually comes through the color, but it's this beautiful like icy blue. Oh, I love the color. It's such a springy and summery color. So the construction is pretty like interesting. So you start with the bottom, you knit up until the armholes, and then you put the back stitches on hold, and then you knit up like the front panel, like 1 front panel, and then again you put the stitches on hold, you pick up stitches for the other panel in the front, and then you put the stitches on hold and you pick up the back panel, you knit up until the shoulders, and then you connect them with the 3 needle bind off, which creates that beautiful sort of like seam line. A lot of short rows going on, so you got short rows for the back panel, the front shoulders. So yeah, it's a beautiful fit, and the pattern itself is super easy to also memorize. There's like 2 patterns going on. It's these flower motifs and then this eyelet that goes throughout the whole top. So next step for me is to pick up stitches for the neck. You create the neck shape. It's sort of this ribbed neck, and then you finish up the body with that. It's like an edge, sort of like, it's not much left, honestly. It goes pretty fast, and then you pick up stitches for the 2 buttons in the front, like button bands. And yeah, and then I will end up with the most cute Vilma top. I'm so happy that I started this. You know how you might be a bit unmotivated to repeat a pattern, and you would only do that if you're absolutely in love with that design. So I think that's like a good indication of like how much I love this design. So yeah, it got me like, I was a bit like unmotivated to push through it, but at a point, especially because it goes really fast, you just sort of like want to finish it quickly. So yeah, this is going on as well. I feel like this will also be a quick finish object pretty soon, as there's not much left. All right, so that was my last whip. I do have 1 planned object which I'm going to cast on pretty soon, and I already have the yarn for it. So let me show the yarn first. This is the Isager Alpaca 2. So this is a 50-50 blend of alpaca and wool, and then this is the Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair in the color Bordeaux. The Alpaca 2 is color 36, so it's this purple, again, sort of burgundy color. And I haven't made a gauge swatch with this yarn yet, but what I'm planning to make out of this is the Waffle Loop Scarf by Other Loops. Again, this was another project or pattern that I had on my vision board in my 2025 video that I shared, and I'm going to cast this on. This is my next cast on, and I'm actually going on a trip, and the flight is super long. So my plan is to have this as my flight pattern, flight knits project. So I don't know how much I'm able to actually knit on this, but I'm hoping at least to finish half of it. And since it's a scarf, I thought it's sort of like a mindless pattern. I thought it doesn't really need a lot of like brain power or anything, so I thought it might be a good project. I hope I'm not making a mistake. I've never knitted. I've only done like one like plain knitting project before, but that was a sleeve of a cardigan, so I already knew what I was doing. But as in like a new project to start on a plain, I don't know how that's going to go, but I just chose this. I hope I made the right choice. But I'm so excited about this. This is such a soft yarn. Oh my God. It's super soft. And since this was going to be like a scarf, I really wanted it to be like very soft. Like I was trying to choose the softest yarn. And also the Knitting for Olive mohair is also very soft. Like this is another silk mohair by Knitting for Olive. And as you can see, the strand, the silk strand is the same color as the mohair. You see, like it's super well blended. But for some colors that doesn't happen. So it really depends on the color. Anyways, that's going to be my next cast on. I feel like next time that you'll see me sharing my updates, this will be a finished object. So that's why I thought to share this today before I actually use the yarn to be able to show the yarn. But yeah, that's it. That's all I had for this video. And it is going to be a shorter one for sure. I try to not yap for too long about all of these designs because I sometimes lose, you know, like track of time when it comes to me talking about my knits. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you reached this point of the video and if you enjoyed the video, please feel free to give the video a thumbs up. That's the only way that I know you like the video, and it just motivates me to put more effort in making these videos. So also subscribe if you haven't already. And I will be away for a few weeks, so I don't know when my next video will be, but I hope it's not going to be too late. So yeah, I hope you're enjoying whatever you're knitting on. Let me know what you're knitting on. I always enjoy when I hear about other projects. If they're like new patterns, I usually look them up, and if it's something that I like, I just add it to my list. So yeah, I hope you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and happy knitting, and I will see you very soon in my next video. Bye.